So one question I get, and it's a question I've been asking myself in the week that I've had the car now, is it worth it? And that's a really difficult question to answer. There's a lot of factors that go into the worth and the value and so forth. I mean, for me, it felt like I needed a sportier car and I wanted something different. It was time to trade in the van and, I wanted something a little different. Yeah, probably, maybe we could have used something a little bigger, but on the whole, this is what I wanted. I fell in love with this car and it's where I wanted to go. So on the one hand, that's a positive that goes that in the direction of, yeah, it's worth it because it's something I wanted. The other thing that goes in the direction of positive in that sense is how you feel about using an electric car. I think it's a tremendously positive thing to use an electric car. Like I said, Florida is primarily solar based in its electric grid, so at least predominantly anyway. So it feels like you're maybe doing some good for the environment in a broad sense, so that's a good thing. It's the whole electric motor, it's the the reduced amount of time you have to spend getting serviced and so forth. So those are all positive things. But from a price point and a value perspective, you have to question it a little bit differently. The car costs $35,400 to start. I got about $3,000 in trade for my van. We'll probably be able to take about $2,500, give or take, in the tax credit that's left. Based on our taxation base and so forth, that's the way it'll work out. So give or take, overall it'll be about I'll say $5,400 off the base price that we brought it down. So we're spending about $30 on the car before taxes and fees. So $30 on the car before taxes and fees is not a huge number. It doesn't feel like it's that much, but when you compare it to a car in the same class, in the same size range, but maybe in a different class, so let's say a Toyota Camry. The Camry, okay, first of all, buying any other car from a dealership, it's sort of a shell game. You don't know exactly what you're going to pay. You know what their MSRP is, but there's other things that you want to add to the car. There's packages, there's features, there's this, there's that. And then there's dealer fees and other things that they're going to charge you that are a little bit unexpected. That's one thing that I liked about Tesla. You knew what the price was from a week before I took delivery of it till the day I took delivery. I knew exactly what I was going to pay. We went through the whole process. They laid out all the fees, everything for me. There was no negotiating. It was just done. Goods and bads go with that, I guess. If you like the thrill of the chase, that's gone. But if you like just knowing what you're going to pay, that's right there. So you didn't have to kind of fight through all of it and say, oh, am I going to pay more for this? Am I going to pay more for that? So if I were to compare it to a Camry, the Camry's list price is somewhere around $26,000. So it's already $4,000 less, and I can still get money for my trade-in. But I have to add in some features to be able to get some of the same features that the Tesla has. If I wanted, say, leather, or I wanted some of the cool tech features that they currently offer on a model like that, you're in that, you're starting to push the price point up to a little higher. And again, you can still take some money off. But at the end of it all, you're probably going to be within, I'm guessing, within $2,000 or $3,000 in the price. By the time you get done with all the things that you add in and dealing with the dealer and all the things that happen, you're probably within a couple $1,000s. Now, if I stepped up a model and went to, say, a RAV4, which is the SUV, and costs a little bit more, it's a couple $1,000s more. Now you can close the price point up a little bit to a couple $1,000s. So for a couple $1,000s, is it worth it? Yeah, probably, from a cost perspective. Now, where you get hurt is this is considered a luxury car. So almost all the insurance companies will raise your insurance rate. Mine went up fairly significantly. I had planned for a couple of $100s in insurance increases, and I was doing a little calculating, and I had kind of figured it out that there's a savings on using electric versus gas, and that savings would be over the course of a year a couple of $100s. So it would probably be a wash between the electric versus gas and the increase in insurance. Probably be about a wash somewhere along the way. So it turned out to be a good thing. But it turned out my insurance rate was actually higher, so I'm actually losing a little bit of money on the insurance rate, which is a bit of a problem. It's not a huge deal breaker, but it's a bit of an issue. So you're spending a little bit more on insurance. So, on the whole, is it worth it from a money perspective? Not really sure. It's close, but I don't know if it's close enough. Now, if you're comparing it to a luxury car, different story. If you say compare it to a BMW or an Audi or something, then clearly this is a better value. So it depends on what you're comparing it to and what your price point is. Now, the last point is about the actual resale value of the car, the actual value of the car. From everything we've seen so far, from the day the car was introduced in 2017 to today, the price point has held pretty well, and they've held up their value. Why do they hold up their value so well? The technology. The car itself, because it's electric, will hold its value fairly well, but the technology and the ability to update it at any time and push it to you makes a big difference in terms of what the overall value is. So the resale value is pretty high on this car, and that's a very positive thing when you look at it. So if you own it for 3 to 5 years, you can actually get a large amount of your investment back. If it's 3 years, I want to say it was something like so far the early trends would be in the 40 to 45% range of the value, which makes it a very valuable car if you decide that you want to have it for a short play for maybe 3 years or something and then rethink what you're going to do. Or maybe there's a new model out, or maybe you love it and you keep it for longer. Then the value proposition changes a little bit, because say a Camry, I'll use that example again, its value decreases greatly over the course of 3 years, and it's worth far less than 40% of its original value. BMWs and Audis and so forth, they maintain their value better, but not as good as a Tesla at this point. So you kind of have to weigh that a little bit in your decision. Are you going to keep it for a long period of time? Are you going to keep it for a short period of time? Maybe you try it out and you fall in love with it. I was talking with a friend of mine who had bought a Tesla right after the Model 3, right after it came out. And he absolutely fell in love with it. He went sight unseen. He had heard about it, he had read about it. I think he had said he had ridden in one at some point, but he never actually owned one, and he never test drove one himself. And he just decided he was going to take the leap of faith and bought it. And he bought it at a time when there was the prices were still evolving a little bit, because it was very early, and he got the full tax credit. So for him, the value proposition was really good. It worked out really well, and he was already thinking about it anyway, so it kind of worked out. So you kind of have to weigh for yourself, what is the value proposition for you? Is it about the convenience? Is it about the environment? Is it about the money? Is it about the joy of driving? Because this car, I gotta tell you, the joy of driving is great. And in my future videos, I'm gonna do more with driving. Now that I've had it for 7 days and I've been kind of testing it out and driving it around and playing with it a little bit, I'm like, okay, it's cool. Now I want to actually get and start driving it and doing some things, and taking it through some fun and enjoying it a little bit. So there you go. Is it worth it? Yeah, probably. But it's, you have to consider what you mean by worth it. What's the value proposition to you? And that you have to be very careful with that. And think about it very carefully for you. What is right for you in your situation?